First, let me give you a quick update. I think we've just completed the fourth ISMR. This is India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable. And together with me, we have Senior Minister K. Shanmugam, Minister Vivian Balakrishnan, and Minister Jeffrey Xiao, as well as Minister Josephine Teo. So we came together with four ministers from India. We have this every year, the alternate between Singapore and India. It has been a very useful and productive meeting, as you can see. We have a very long discussion, and we went into great depth. And this is a very unique format because we discuss with one another without officials, so that we can be candid and open to each other. And this has facilitated progress in bilateral collaboration. And then subsequently, we briefed and updated the senior officials so that we can follow up on the decisions between the two countries. Let me just give you a quick update on what we have discussed. We focus on the six key pillars of collaboration. The first one is on advanced manufacturing. On advanced manufacturing, we also discuss the semiconductor partnership. We had an MOU signed in 2024. Since then, quite a number of semiconductor manufacturers have invested in India, and with that investment, they are also looking at bringing with them many of their suppliers, their ecosystem, which includes a lot of Singapore companies, to India, so that they are able to create an ecosystem for semiconductor in India. And that's why there are a lot of opportunities for Singapore SMEs, particularly those that are supporting the semiconductor industries here, to also explore India. And we discussed with India how we can make that move, relocation or entry into India more smoothly. And these are the areas that we discussed. And one area that we are particularly interested in is skills upgrading and training of the Indian workforce, so that they are able to support the new semiconductor advanced manufacturing industries. And this is something that we have been discussing, and we hope to be able to establish training centers for semiconductor, particularly in areas where these semiconductor companies are investing in. And this training has to be industry-led, and with a focus on the specific skills that will be required by the semiconductor industries. And there will be opportunities for us, for our semiconductor ecosystem. On connectivity, we discussed the collaboration between the Singapore-India green and digital shipping lane, and I think we are discussing how we can facilitate the use of green fuel for maritime. And one area that we discussed is also on the air services agreement, because with the increased investment in India, and we increase the trade between India and Singapore, we also expect two-way traffic to increase, and therefore there's scope for us to discuss ASA. We haven't reached any specific decision on ASA, because this will be carried on by the aviation authorities of two countries. We just discussed briefly that the need to increase air connectivity. I think the parties, the aviation authorities of two countries will continue to discuss and explore opportunities on connectivity. On the digitalization, we discussed our project in Rajasthan. I think the Indian authority, working with the state government, is helping to facilitate our company's interests in developing a sustainable industrial park in Rajasthan. And we also talk about the UPI and PayNow collaboration. I think many of you are familiar. We announced that several years ago. It has progressed well. I think to date we have transaction value for the first half of 2026 already reaching close to $21 million. And this is more than 6 times the transaction value of first half of 2025. So I think it's progressing well. But we are also hoping to be able to facilitate more participation by banks as well as merchants. And one initiative that we hope to be able to realize soon is Project Nexus. And your UPI and PayNow collaboration is bilateral between India and Singapore, whereas Project Nexus will bring multiple nations together. It involves, India is one of the founding members of Nexus, and it also involves 5 other ASEAN countries. So I think including Singapore. So I think this will allow this digital payment to be multilateralized, so you don't need to have bilateral agreement anymore. So long as you hook onto Nexus, you'll be able to then have digital payment with all the participants. I think this is an important project, and India is one of the founding members, and we are working together to see how we can implement Nexus as soon as possible. I think the current schedule is by 2027, Nexus will come online. So this is something that we are working on, and we also have a letter of intent of cooperation in the field of telecoms and broadcasting that you just witnessed, and this is also a collaboration on the digitalization. We also talk about the collaboration in terms of the capital market. SGX has a keen interest to collaborate with the NSE of India to see how we can strengthen the depth and breadth of the capital market, and we have discussed several initiatives. I think the two stock exchanges as well as the regulatory authorities will continue to discuss how we can work together to expand the scope of our collaboration in our capital market. And in terms of that's on digitalization. On the healthcare and medicine, we acknowledge and noted the good progress in our nurses training and skills upgrading program in India, and the continued access to Indian nursing manpower, which will be important for our healthcare sector, and that has gone on well. We also discussed the collaboration on Ayurvedic medicine. I think MOH is working on this project, and we make good progress, and we hope to be able to come to a conclusion soon on the Ayurvedic collaboration. Skills upgrading, this is very important. I think we acknowledge noted the good progress made by ITES, the International Services of ITE, and they are working now in Chennai to set up a Center of Excellence for Education and Training, and this is a very important initiative. This is particularly for advanced manufacturing. I think this is National Center of Excellence for Advanced Manufacturing. I think it's based in Chennai. I think the IT's intention and India's intention is to use this as a model, as a pathfinder, to see how we can have a strong structure and framework for skills training and upgrading, which is very important for the industrialization of India. And we have arrived at a common understanding and agreement on the path forward. I think ITES will be conducting a needs assessment in September. I think with the needs assessment, they will then be able to define exactly what kind of training will be required and needed for this particular advanced manufacturing sector. And India has also specifically emphasized that this training has to be industry relevant, has to be forward-looking, and needs to be able to meet the requirements of the industries. And therefore, it's important for us to work very closely with the Indian authority as well as industries that are involved in the advanced manufacturing, so that we can cater the training program to the needs of these industries. And this program will also be supported under the Singapore Cooperation Program, SCP. And on sustainability, I think over the last few years, we have been working with India on the supply of food during crises like COVID-19. We also talk about how we can make sure that supply of rice from India doesn't get disrupted. I think this is an important area. And as you know, we already have a sustainability resilience, supply chain resilience arrangement with Australia, with New Zealand, and with several other countries. We are also discussing the same issue, specifically on food supplies with India, and we agree that we should explore how India and Singapore can work closer together to ensure the continued supply of food from India to Singapore, and Singapore will then see how we can work together. There are several areas of potential collaboration. One area is, for example, in research and development, in strengthening the technology for crops, for yield, for better quality, more resilient seeds, and so on. There are areas that we can work together in terms of R&D. There's also potential for investment in the food processing part of the industry in India. For example, SETS kitchens already has an operation in India to process the food packages that are required, supplies that are required for airlines. So I think things like that are possible, and this will strengthen the arrangement for food security. I think the Food Authority of Singapore, SFA, will work with the Indian counterpart to develop a concept on how we can strengthen food assurance between the two countries. And for this, we also handed over a proposal from SFA in the concept of this food security. I think we will discuss further between the two countries. And having discussed many of these issues, we have also discussed beyond the sixth pillar, what are the other areas of potential collaboration. One specific area that we discussed, that we raised, is cooperation in space. I think India has a very strong space technology. They are one of the key launch sites for satellites, and I think they have also made ventures into the space. So I think we are very keen to discuss the possibility of a collaboration with them, whether in research, development, or even in commercial cooperation. I think the Singapore Space Agency will work with India's counterpart. I think it's called InSpace, IN Space. I think the two parties will discuss what are the potential areas that they can work together and to develop initiatives for the future. At the same time, we also discussed the other areas that we can see opportunities that we have a common interest. One area is in nuclear technology. I think we have talked about the SMRs, and we also discussed how we can share our experience, our knowledge about SMRs. You know, we are very keen to keep in touch with the development of this technology, although we have not quite decided whether we are going to adopt nuclear, but it's important for us to keep pace with the development of the technology in this area. That's why we have discussed the possibility of working together to explore, to share knowledge on this technology. And another area that we were also exploring is in terms of cybersecurity. I think this is also part and parcel of the digital collaboration. I think it's important in this area of this era of digitalization. Cyber security becomes a very important part of the digital infrastructure, and we want to share our experiences and our knowledge and our expertise in ensuring cyber security. The last area that we discussed is in innovation. I think India has been a very innovative economy. They also have some kind of innovation campaign where they bring the investors and innovators together and to try to match them and give innovators a chance and opportunity to commercialize their innovation. They are working on bringing this. They've been doing this in India as well as in France. They are thinking of bringing this to Singapore, in which we welcome, because this will then provide opportunities for our startups, for our innovators to have a platform to showcase their innovation, and for investors to explore opportunities for investments in Singapore. I think Singapore being a gateway into Asia, this will provide a great opportunity for some of these innovators and startups. I think we will be working together with India on bringing this innovation platform to Singapore. I think that, in a nutshell, is what we have discussed in our ISMR. But following this, because ISMR is between ministers and government, but it's also important to involve the private sector, because it's the private sector that will drive investments, drive the economy. So following this, we will have a lunch with the business representative. This is what we call the ISBR, India-Singapore Business Roundtable. So the businessmen will come together and have lunch with the ministers, and they will share what their concerns are, what their interests are from the business perspective, and so that the ministers can take them on board in our deliberation on the collaboration going forward. So I think this is for today's program. So in a nutshell, I think we have made good progress, and compared to the last ISMR, we have reviewed the progress, and I think we are quite happy with the progress so far. Of course, there are hiccups and there are kinks that we need to iron out, And I think with this platform, it's very easy now for us to call each other. I know all the foreign ministers personally, so it's not so difficult for me to just give a call to my counterpart to say, we have this issue, can you please help us look into it? I think this is the most important value of this platform, that it's not just across a negotiating table, but we develop trust and a relationship with one another that will help to strengthen bilateral collaboration between the two countries. Thank you.
Sorry, we don't have time for questions, so we'll have to.
Okay, maybe one question.
Just a quick question.
Just one question.
Maybe if you can share more about, because the last roundtable you mentioned also skills training in areas like aviation, MRO. Do you have an update on that? And also, can you go more into detail about the SGX and NSE? Is it going to be like dual listing, possibly opportunities there? And also, you also mentioned cybersecurity. Can you just give us more details? 3
questions.
Yeah,
okay,
just maybe more details that we can look forward to, opportunities that Singapore can invest in.
Okay, just first one, what was the first question?
On aviation, MRO, that was in the previous roundtable.
Okay. I think aviation MRO is very important for both India and Singapore, because as you know, SIA has invested into Air India, and I think it's important for them to build up their capability in MRO in order to serve Air India, SIA, as well as third-party airlines. And this is also a critical sector that India is very keen to develop. And so we're working together, and SIA is making headways into this MRO training for the airlines. And I think we are working on an MOU that will be signed between the two. I think we hope to be able to do that quite soon, and that will lay the framework and the basis for the collaboration in MRO between the two countries. And the second question is? On the SGX and NSE, more breadth and depth, what would that sort of look like? They are exploring different alternatives, including derivatives, including the possibility of dual listing, so that the businesses, the entities in India will then have greater access to the capital around this region as well as around the world, leveraging on the SGX connection as well as the depth of the capital market. So I think with India's collaboration, we also help to strengthen SGX positioning. So I think it will be beneficial between the two. I think the two parties, SGX and NSE, will continue to discuss what are the potential and possibilities of collaboration. Dual listing is one possibility, and hopefully it will go beyond just that.